So this is the first item I'm gonna flip. This is an Old Navy fleece zip-up pullover hoodie thing. I mentioned in my last video that this is for boys 10 to 12. Honestly, I feel like at this point, if I thrift anything and it's not pre-worn by a pre-pubescent boy, I probably don't want it. I actually really like the whole design of the shirt, except the length is kind of questionable for me because I'm not a 10-year-old boy. So I wanted to make it cropped. Here's the thing with Old Navy. I feel like they're always 2% away from an A. They're cute, but then there's always something off about it. So I feel like after I flip this, it'll be wearable for me. Overall though, I think people should stop sleeping on Old Navy because they kind of have some cute stuff. Okay, let's just get started. Alright, so the goal with this shirt is to crop it. So I've been seeing these kind of cinched in hoodies a lot, and I kind of wanted to do the same thing for this shirt. So what I did was I tried it on and kind of measured where I wanted it to hit on my belly and then cut off the excess, making sure to leave about 5 centimeters of extra room so that we can sew it up and stuff. So next I took an elastic cord, I guess you would call it. We're gonna use this to put into the bottom of the shirt. So to do that, I needed to make a case for the elastic. I flipped the shirt inside out and then I folded up the bottom so that it was wide enough for it to fit the elastic inside. Then basically all I did was I just sewed it all the way around using my sewing machine. The great thing about this shirt is that it's fleece, so that means I don't have to hem the edges because it doesn't unravel, which is perfect. So when I got almost all the way around, I stopped and made sure to leave a gap so that I could thread the elastic in. So then I took my elastic and I measured it around my burrito belly and then marked it off and then cut off the excess. Now what you want to do is thread it through the casing. Wait. Yes. And in order to do that, I stuck a safety pin on the end of it and then just pushed it all the way through. This is gonna take a little bit of time, but just put on your favorite show. Currently, I am loving The Office. I know I said I hated it before, but I changed my mind. So when you get all the way around, you just want to pull the elastic out, and I actually just tied it together with the other side of the elastic and pulled it really tight. You can also... What can you also do? I actually really don't know what you can also do. So maybe just tie it. I don't really know why I tried to give more options. I cut off the excess and then I pushed the knot kind of to the side so that it's hidden. And then I went ahead and just sewed the gap closed so that we have one continuous, elastic band casing. And once you're done with that, you can flip it inside out. And after that, I had my cinched cropped hoodie. Or not hoodie, pullover, sweater, whatever. So this is what it looks like. I'm super happy with it. I've literally been wearing it every single day here in LA. I love it because I don't have to wear a bra with it, which is my favorite thing ever. The only thing is this used to have pockets. Actually, it still does have pockets, but they're only big enough to fit my finger. I really don't know what I could put in there. Maybe a couple of coins, Maybe if it gets cold and my hands are cold, I can warm up each finger at a time and they can all alternate. I don't know what's going on in my brain right now. Let's move on. Alright, next I wanted to flip this jacket that I showed in my last video. I mentioned how I love the texture of this and the pattern and everything, but the shape of it, it's kind of just flat. I just wanted to add a little something extra to give it some pizzazz. That's not the right word. I decided to make it kind of like a blazer style. So I wanted to pin back the front flaps of the jacket. I folded back the front of the jacket and then I just took some black thread and took a needle and I basically just sewed the flap down to the jacket. I only did about 3 stitches because it doesn't really take that much to hold it down, but I did a couple more stitches along the flap. So I did, I think, 4 stitches along the entire flap of the jacket and made sure to kind of space them out so that it's not gonna unflap. Wow, my descriptions are very good. And then I did the exact same thing on the other side. I didn't really measure these, I just kind of eyeballed it, and I feel like I did a pretty good job at eyeballing, so good job to me. So after I did that, this is what it looks like. It just has these little blazer flaps, and I feel like that subtle change already made the jacket look so much better. But I want to go one step further and add in like a belt to kind of cinch in the waist. So I happen to have this checkered plaid fabric in my closet. How did it get there? I really don't know. So in order to make the belt, I just took a section of the mystery fabric and I basically just cut out a long rectangle of the fabric and include some seam allowance. So then I just folded the edges together. At this point, I was in LA, so I did not have my sewing machine, so I had to sew by hand. Let me tell you, it took a long time. Took me like 2 episodes of The Office. Is that just my like way to measure time now? How many episodes of The Office? Anyway, I sewed all the way down the entire piece of fabric, and then I also sewed along the end of the belt. And then after that, I flipped the entire thing inside out. This was a little hard for me because my belt is pretty thin. It's a skinny legend. Okay. But I just flipped it. Took me some time. Took me like 1 episode of The Office. So after I did that, I realized it was kind of round looking and I wanted it to have that flat look, like it was just ironed, but I do not have an iron. So what I decided to do was a couple of different things. First of all, I have realized a long time ago that my laptop gets piping hot. Like I could probably cook an egg on there on a good day. So I decided to try to use that as an iron and kind of flatten this out. So I put it on and it did work a little bit, but I felt like it was kind of tedious. So what I did instead was put it under a heavy object overnight. This is actually my bed frame that I haven't put together yet. Except the next morning when I took it out, it looked exactly the same. So that didn't work. But then I remembered I have a curling iron. So I was like, well, this probably isn't as good as a straightening iron, but it'll probably work. So what I did was I just kind of like ran my iron over the belt and it did the job. Not gonna lie, this was oddly fun. Anyway, after I had my flattened belt, I also sewed down the end of the belt, and at this point I kind of didn't really care what the belt looked like, so I didn't even bother like putting the edges in. I just left it frayed because I was like, I'm spending way too much time on this one flaccid piece of fabric. So then I had to create the belt loops, and I didn't really know how to do it. Well, that's a lie. I do know how to do it. I just, at this point, I wanted it to be over. Is that lazy? You can call it that. Okay, so anyway, what I decided to do was just use thread as a belt loop. So I just made a stitch on the side of the jacket and I pulled my thread through, and then I basically just made a loop that was big enough for the belt, and I just went back and forth on the jacket, making about 3 stitches so that the belt loop wasn't too fragile. And then I did the same thing to the other side of the jacket. I mean, there are pros to having this kind of belt loop, I feel like. One pro is that you can't see it, but there are many more cons. A con is that you can't see it, so might not be able to find the loop. And another one is it probably will break. So why did I just attack myself so hard? Anyway, I put my belt through the loop and then I was finished. I think it looks pretty good, although I don't know if the belt actually helped it out or not. I feel like I could have survived without it. So I don't know. Let me know if you guys think the belt looks good or not, or if you think I just like completely messed up the jacket. Let me know your opinion. But still think this is the coolest jacket ever, and I can't wait to post some Instagrams in this. I just feel like it's so cool and will elevate my style. The last thing that I wanted to flip was this pair of jeans. So this pair of jeans I actually bought a while back, a couple years ago. This is also from the thrift store, obviously, but I found this in the little boy section. Again, with the little boys' clothes. Little boys' clothes are kind of my thing. So I really like the wash of these jeans and I really like the fit of them. They're kind of more like straight-legged. 2 things about these jeans. I had already cut the ends off these jeans a while ago because they were too long for me, even though they're for like 12-year-old boys. I'm just a really short person. Also, there is a spicy rip on the butt. When I bought these jeans, I guess I just didn't notice that there was a tiny rip on the butt. So when I sat down, they just completely opened. I've definitely seen pre-ripped butt jeans before, and I guess they're kind of trendy, so I was like, okay, let me just leave it. And I know some of you guys might be offended that I'm showing 1 centimeter of my thigh, but just chill. I feel like it's not very offensive because you can't see very much and there's not very much to see anyway in that general area. Although the butt rib already has that come hither boys vibe, I wanted to spice it up a little more and make it more trendy, so I decided I wanted to paint this like race car checkered pattern onto the side of the pant leg. So what I did was I took some painter's tape and I just taped down the side of the leg outside of the area that I wanted to paint, and then I also put down another line of tape so that I had like one column that was completely bless me, so that I had one column empty. And then I just took little pieces of painter's tape and I put it down the empty space of the pant leg. And then for the other side, I took my X-Acto knife and I kind of cut out the alternating spaces between the checkers, and then I ripped off the tape, revealing the part that I needed to paint. I did that along the entire pant leg. Never seen something so bright like the sky, always guiding me. And then I also put down another piece of tape on the other side of the leg so that I had all of the areas blocked off that I did not want paint on. I realized I did the taping in kind of like a complicated way on this leg, but I was smarter on the other leg, so you'll see how I did it a little later on. But anyway, I took some black fabric paint and a little sponge painter and I just started painting on the leg. This was really easy, it took me 5 minutes, and I didn't want it to be like completely pitch black, so I didn't use that much paint, but it still gave a really good effect. And I put my paint on a Polaroid picture because I'm seriously lacking on DIY supplies at this point because I haven't bought anything yet. So I went down the entire leg. After that, I just peeled off the painter's tape and it revealed my pattern. Only us till the end. And then I did the exact same thing to the other leg, but this time I did the taping a little differently. Instead of having to cut away, I just taped each side with a different piece of tape. But the painting was the exact same process. So bright, like the sky, always guiding me. Oh my gosh, I never seen something. And then I just let it dry and now it was ready to wear. And I'm seriously so happy with how this turned out. I think it looks so cool. I feel like this is so Instagram-y. Definitely these are like the coolest pair of jeans that I own right now. But yeah, look at how cute, you know? We have a little butt rip here, we have a little race car pattern. And I don't know, maybe this butt rip will actually inspire me to do some squats and build myself a butt now that I'm in LA and I have to kind of fit in. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this pair of pants.